Kirk Frost and Rasheeda have long been one of the most iconic couples on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Over the years, they've weathered the highs and lows of reality TV together. Their relationship put on full display for millions of fans worldwide. They've had their fair share of ups and downs with public drama, controversies, and challenges, but always managed to stick together. However, just recently, everything seemed to take a sudden and dramatic turn. Out of nowhere, Kirk and Rasheeda have decided to walk away from the show, shocking fans everywhere. This wasn't just a casual break from the show. They are officially done with Love and Hip Hop, and sources are now revealing the explosive reason behind it. It's not just a decision about reality TV. It's about something much bigger that has been brewing behind the scenes for a while now. To understand the full picture, we have to go back a few months when fans began to notice something strange. For weeks, Rasheeda and Kirk had been noticeably absent from public events together. There was a coldness between them that fans couldn't ignore. Rasheeda's usual warm expressions seemed distant, and Kirk's behavior appeared more aloof than ever before. Love and Hip Hop fans, always tuned into the smallest details, started to feel that something wasn't right. It wasn't long before rumors began circulating that the couple was on the outs. The whispers were subtle at first, just passing comments on social media, but they slowly gained traction as fans became more suspicious. Then, out of nowhere, a shocking leak hit the internet. An insider close to the couple revealed that not only were they done with the show, but they were also done with each other. No going back. They weren't taking a break for a season, they were done for good. Fans were stunned. The couple that had once been the cornerstone of the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta franchise was suddenly gone. It seemed like a dramatic twist, one that no one saw coming, but the story didn't end there. Behind the scenes, things had exploded. The fallout between Kirk and Rasheeda didn't just happen overnight. It all came to a head one night during a private event hosted by VH1 executives. Cameras weren't rolling, but what went down was crazier than anything that ever aired on TV. It started with Kirk, who had been drinking, becoming increasingly defensive when Rasheeda confronted him. The tension in the room was thick, and it only escalated from there. Rasheeda's voice was icy cold as she confronted Kirk. "You really think I don't know what you've been doing behind my back?" she asked. Kirk tried to brush it off with one of those nervous, forced laughs, but it was clear to everyone in the room that he had been caught. What happened next shocked everyone in the room. Rasheeda pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, and turned it around to reveal a video. No one knew exactly what was in the video, but the reactions were enough to make it clear. It was bad. Some rumors suggested the video showed Kirk getting too close with a mystery woman, while others believed it involved a shady business deal or a betrayal involving money. Whatever it was, it pushed Rasheeda past her breaking point. "I told you," Rasheeda said, her voice dangerously low. "I told you if you ever embarrass me like this again, it's over." The entire room fell silent. Kirk reached for Rasheeda's arm, but she yanked it away. Her face twisted in disgust. "Don't touch me," she snapped, her voice shaking with fury. "I should have left you years ago." At that moment, the room felt like it was suffocating. Producers rushed in to try and defuse the situation, but the damage was done. Rasheeda stormed out, leaving Kirk standing there, exposed, humiliated, and alone. After that night, Rasheeda made it clear that she was done with both Kirk and the show. She refused to film, blocked Kirk's number, and even started consulting with lawyers. The word spread quickly. Rasheeda was finished, but Kirk wasn't ready to give up without a fight. Instead of quietly accepting the end of his reality TV career, he started making calls to the top VH1 executives, threatening to expose secrets about the show. He didn't want to lose his spot, his paycheck, or the status he had built on the franchise. But the tables had turned. The network, which had always supported Kirk, was now done with him. Allegations began to surface, claiming that Kirk had been causing issues behind the scenes. He had been manipulating storylines, refusing to follow contracts, and even getting into heated arguments with producers. Eventually, the higher-ups at VH1 made their decision. They were moving on without Kirk and Rasheeda. Just like that, the power couple of Love and Hip Hop was officially gone from the show, but while Kirk's career seemed to be crumbling, Rasheeda was already plotting her next move. Rumors started to swirl that she was in talks with another network, not just for a guest appearance, but for her own show. This time, Rasheeda was determined to carve out her own path, independent of Kirk. Insiders revealed that Rasheeda was no longer willing to share the spotlight with him. She was looking for something fresh, something entirely on her own terms. And it wasn't long before offers from major networks started rolling in. Rasheeda had built her own empire, and now she was ready to take control of her career. Kirk, of course, wasn't happy with this turn of events. He was reportedly furious when he heard about Rasheeda's meetings with other networks. "She can't just walk away like that," he was reportedly heard telling a close friend. "I built this with her. She's not about to leave me in the dust." But Rasheeda was done. For years, she had played the role of the forgiving wife, standing by Kirk's side no matter what. But this time, things were different. She wasn't going to clean up his mess anymore, nor was she going to let him control her career. She had one final move, and when she made it, Kirk was completely blindsided. As Kirk panicked about losing his spot on Love and Hip Hop, he found himself in an even worse position. Not only was his reality TV career slipping away, but he was also losing Rasheeda. She was no longer answering his calls, and her focus was solely on her own path. She had already started taking meetings with producers, and they loved the idea of a show centered around her life as a businesswoman, mother, and music mogul. Without Kirk. Meanwhile, Kirk was spiraling. His brand was tanking. He tried to do damage control by pushing his own narrative, claiming that Rasheeda was being manipulated by the executives. But no one was buying it, not the fans, not the industry, and certainly not the people closest to Kirk. Things only got worse when Rasheeda posted a cryptic message on Instagram, sending the internet into a frenzy. "You can only disrespect me so many times before I walk away for good," she wrote. Fans immediately flooded the comments with support. "We got your back, Queen. You deserve better." Just a few hours later, Kirk went live on Instagram trying to clear the air, but Rasheeda wasn't having it. She joined the live for just a split second, leaving Kirk speechless. She didn't respond to him. Instead, she posted another message to her Instagram. "Some things don't need to be explained. The truth always reveals itself." And just like that, Rasheeda had ended it. Kirk knew he had lost control of the situation. The following days were a whirlwind. Love and Hip Hop officially removed Kirk and Rasheeda's names from the promotional materials for the upcoming season. It was no longer just a break from the show. It was the end of their journey with the franchise. And Kirk? Well, he wasn't going down without a fight. He started threatening to expose the producers, claiming he had dirt on the show. He wasn't bluffing either. Sources close to Kirk claimed that he knew everything about the inner workings of the show, secrets that could destroy careers and bring down the franchise. But even this move couldn't save him. The network was done with him, and Rasheeda was moving on. A few days later, Rasheeda made her biggest move yet. She announced her own reality show. The first episode? It was all about her breaking free from Kirk Frost. Kirk had no idea this was coming. At first, he didn't believe it. But when the official announcement dropped along with a teaser trailer, Kirk realized this was real. Rasheeda wasn't holding back. In the teaser, she was seen sitting at a high-end restaurant, speaking directly to the camera. "I gave my whole life to someone who didn't deserve me," she said, "but now it's my time." The screen then cut to clips of Kirk's past scandals, his affairs, his betrayals. And the final shot, Rasheeda taking off her wedding ring and walking away. The internet exploded. Fans went wild, saying this was the show they needed. The drama, the betrayal, it was all there, but it was Rasheeda's story now. Kirk knew this was the beginning of the end. He had lost everything. Kirk's career was unraveling. His once thriving brand had collapsed. The fans, the networks, the industry, they had all turned their backs on him. And Rasheeda? She was thriving. Her show was a massive hit, and the media was all about her. She had taken control of her narrative, and Kirk was left in the dust. The last thing he expected was for Rasheeda to rise above it all. In the end, the entire world knew what Kirk had done. He was no longer the powerful figure he once was. The entire industry had shifted. And for Kirk, there was no coming back. As the weeks went by, Kirk's downward spiral continued. His once thriving career had been decimated, and he found himself scrambling for any kind of foothold in the industry. He had spent years building his reputation, but the walls were closing in, and his past mistakes were now catching up with him. With every new post, every news article, and every fan comment, Kirk's desperation grew. His name was no longer trending for positive reasons. In fact, every time he appeared on social media, he was met with scorn, ridicule, and a constant reminder of his failings. Meanwhile, Rasheeda's show Unbreakable was climbing the charts. It wasn't just a reality TV show, it was a movement. The first episode pulled in millions of viewers, and critics were praising her for being real, authentic, and strong. The fans, particularly women, were drawn to her resilience. She wasn't just a reality TV star anymore. She was a businesswoman, a mother, and an inspiration to many. Her rise was unstoppable, and every new episode of Unbreakable only strengthened her position as one of the most influential figures in the entertainment industry. Rasheeda's story was no longer just about the drama of love and hip-hop or the baggage of her past. It was about her ability to break free from the toxicity, to step into her own power, and to take control of her narrative. As the show continued, viewers saw a side of her that had always been there, but had been hidden behind years of turmoil and public scandals. She was now shining brighter than ever, and the world was finally seeing her as more than just Kirk's wife. For Kirk, the reality of his situation was becoming increasingly clear. The industry had moved on, and so had Rasheeda. He had underestimated her strength, her resilience, and her ability to thrive without him. Kirk had always been in control of the narrative, whether it was on the show or in their personal lives. But this time, the tables had turned, and he was left trying to salvage what was left of his reputation, while Rasheeda soared higher than he could have ever imagined. Kirk's attempts to play the victim only made things worse. The more he tried to expose Rasheeda and shift the blame, the more he alienated himself from the public. Fans weren't buying his narrative anymore. They had seen the truth, and they were rallying behind Rasheeda. They admired her for having the courage to leave behind a toxic relationship and for finding the strength to move forward on her own terms. It was a narrative that resonated with people who had been through their own struggles and had come out the other side stronger. But even with all the support, Kirk wasn't ready to let go. He kept reaching out to old connections, trying to mend the damage, but it was too late. His career was in shambles, and his personal life was no better. The comments on his posts were flooded with negativity. Fans were no longer sympathetic to his struggles. They had watched him manipulate and deceive his way through life, and now they were seeing the true consequences of his actions. His brand, once synonymous with power and influence, had been reduced to nothing more than a cautionary tale. Rasheeda, on the other hand, was reclaiming her narrative in the most powerful way possible. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Her Unbreakable show became a hit, and with each passing episode, it became clear that Rasheeda was more than just a reality TV star. She had become a force to be reckoned with. Her ability to rise above the chaos and build her own empire without the help of Kirk was nothing short of inspiring. She had proven that she didn't need him to be successful, and that message resonated with audiences around the world. The media couldn't get enough of Rasheeda's new journey. She was everywhere, on magazine covers, in interviews, and featured in major industry publications. Her new show was being picked up by more and more networks, and it was clear that she was becoming one of the most influential women in entertainment. Fans, especially women, saw her as a role model, someone who had gone through the highs and lows of life, love, and fame, and came out stronger and more empowered. As for Kirk, he had no one left to blame but himself. The fans who had once supported him had moved on, and the industry had turned its back. His attempt to stay relevant by leaking information and threatening to expose the show only made him look petty and bitter. His claims that Rasheeda had been manipulated by executives only backfired. Everyone could see that this was Kirk's attempt to hold on to the little power he had left. But no one was buying it. Kirk's days as a reality TV star were numbered. His public image was irreparably damaged, and even his old friends and colleagues began to distance themselves. As Rasheeda's career soared, Kirk's life spiraled further out of control. The fans who had once adored him now saw him as the villain of the story, and the media wasn't afraid to point it out. He had spent years building his brand on love and hip-hop and in the industry, but now all of that was falling apart. Rasheeda, on the other hand, was proving to the world that she was more than just the wife of a controversial figure. She was her own person, with her own dreams, ambitions, and goals. Her new show Unbreakable was only the beginning of her new chapter. The fans, the media, and the industry were all behind her. She had built an empire on her own terms, and there was no stopping her now. As Kirk watched the rise of Rasheeda from the sidelines, he was left with one harsh reality. He had underestimated her. He had taken her for granted for too long, assuming that she would always be there, that she would always stand by him, no matter how badly he treated her. But Rasheeda had shown the world that she was stronger than anyone had ever given her credit for. She had the power to walk away from the toxic situation and build something amazing on her own. Kirk, on the other hand, was left in the dust. His ego, his need for control, and his unwillingness to acknowledge his own mistakes